Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about the coin EOS or EOS. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it, so we'll just say EOS, although I'm pretty sure it's pronounced EOS, but I don't know. If I'm wrong, leave me a comment in the comment section. But EOS has a lot of news at the end of September. Its chart isn't, like every other chart, it has potential to be very bullish if it can break a certain level on the daily, in my opinion, and retest it and hold. I'm going to give my criteria for where I plan to enter, kind of where I would put a stop loss if my entry is able to, if my entry criteria does fill, where I'd put a stop loss, and the targets that I'll be looking for. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Now, just like I did on my previous coin, which was DOT, I'll leave a link in the description for that, as well as my XRP analysis that I recently put out over the last couple days. We're not going to spend too much time on the indicators. I want to go over mostly just price action and one specific price level, but I will unhide them temporarily just to start out and explain why on the weekly chart, which is what we're on right now, they do look bullish. Now, if you look over here on the MACD, it's recently had a cross to the upside, which is where the blue is crossing back over the orange. It had negative momentum, and we just now printed our second, or we're working on our second week of basically positive momentum. You can look down here on the stochastic RSI, and both the blue and the orange have crossed up into the purple zone, which is a bullish thing to see. And and it's still got a lot of room to the upside. You can also see that price action on, not price action, but the indicators, the RSI right here, which is my yellow one, and the money flow index, which is my purple one, both are kind of printing the same pattern as price action, which we'll go over in a minute, which is more or less just a large falling wedge. And at some point, this is likely to break to the upside. Will there be pullbacks along the way? Of course. Even if we break above the level I'll be speaking about soon, there's a chance this breaks out in the RSI first. Retest, this will be most likely your best entry. What we're hoping for is this level we're speaking about, that it breaks above it. We're going to look at a daily chart here in a second. That's what we're going to focus on for our entry ideas, but we'll be looking for it to break above it and then retest it. And I'll go over my criteria on that in just a sec, but I just wanted to point out that the indicators do look bullish, so obviously that's always going to work in your favor. I don't trade based on indicators as much as I used to. I'm kind of leaning more towards regular price action now and price levels. However, any added confluence you can have for your bullish or bearish case, bullish in this case, is only going to help, right? So now we're going to go ahead and hide those indicators and just kind of talk about some important levels here real quick. Now, because we're not too worried about price action suddenly deciding to go from where it's at now, clear up to its all-time high, we're going to zoom in and more just focus on, the levels that are realistic right now. And the big one that's overhead right now that I have marked in blue is basically the $1.40 range. It's a zone, but it's basically $1.40. This is the KuCoin chart. I didn't want to mess my Binance chart up, which is the one we'll go over in a minute on the daily chart. So, price levels are always slightly different based on the exchanges, by sometimes a few cents, sometimes a dollar, something like that. And so the levels look a little different on this chart, but I just wanted to show you quickly. We're going to go ahead and hide my indicators. That these are kind of the levels that I'm watching. Now, price action, if you look back here, clearly this level here was major support at one point when we had our crash back in March of 2020. Bounced from that point, and it held up. It did wick below it, but then it got back above it there. And then most recently, this was the level that it broke down, bearishly retested right here, and it's now become our resistance. Past, in this case, past support has now become future resistance, or in this case, present resistance. And so that level on here, as you can see, it's marking it on KuCoin as 139.45. So we're going to switch over to the daily in a second, and I'll explain kind of my validation as far as entering this trade. But we're flirting with that area as we speak. In fact, you can see if we zoom in even more that it did wick up and basically hit that level dead on. And, and of course it's acting as resistance, which you would expect the first go around, especially while Bitcoin's not necessarily, not looking as strong as it was yesterday, for example. It's currently consolidating or potentially putting in a retrace, and so it's natural that EOS would be, struggling with that resistance currently. So now we're over here on the Binance daily chart. I'm just going to quickly give you my thoughts as far as how I would enter this coin. Now, if you look, we're basically been in this large falling wedge dating clear back to September of 2021. So last year, you had these marked by my yellow arrows. You have this high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So you have 4 touches, and we're currently working on our 5th touch as we speak on the daily. It did wick above it, which we'll show you in a second when we zoom in. But more or less, it's acting as resistance again, which is this trend line. You have this lower trend line that has, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus touches as well. And this is what I have listed as my breakout level, which is basically on this chart right at $1.40, $1.40, and 6, $1.40 and 6, whatever, however you want to put that. So if you zoom in just a little bit, now I also want to point out too that there's a ton of news, which is one of the reasons that I would be bullish on EOS should the market continue to push higher, which, that's the big if. But it has, a bunch of news here. I've listed on the chart. I'm sure you're not going to be able to see it very good unless I zoom in, but they've got about 8 different things that are all lined up for the end of September. This EVM product suite, scalability and blue paper, and, EVM launch. And then down here they have their Mandel 3.1 upgrade. So they just got all sorts of stuff coming up. So that in itself could lead to some positive price action should the chart play along and Bitcoin play along. And if we zoom in here, this is what I'm looking for on a daily, and this is how I plan to enter the coin. I'm not planning to get on any retest at the moment because I just think if Bitcoin rolls over, there's really no point in trading this coin at all. What we're looking for would be the break of this level. So we need 1 candle. I mentioned this on both my last 2 videos as well, so this should sound kind of like a broken record. But we want 1 daily candle body, the full body, not just a wick like we have back here or back here. We need a daily body to close above that. And then the next candle we want to see retest and the body to again close below. So it wouldn't matter if the retest candle had a wick, even clear down to say here, or even way down to here. That part wouldn't matter to me. It would be that we had 2 straight candles with bodies close above, and the second candle that had the body close above would need to also have retested the $1.40 range. What do I mean by it needs to have done that as well? Well, I don't want to see I wouldn't personally enter if there was 3 straight candles that just went crazy bullish, like, this candle here, and then the next candle opens up and just goes up here. At that point, you're chasing green candles, and, that's not usually a safe way to trade, and we try to do the lowest risk trades we can with high reward but low risk. So that's what I mean. We'd want to see the first daily candle body close above, the second one close above as well, but zoom in, to the 4 hour or something of that candle, you'd want to see that it came back down, retested the $1.40 area. At that point, I would enter, I'd put a stop loss back down here below this orange level, which is just daily support, somewhere back down below $1.20-ish, and, then I'd just let it ride. And this is my main profits I'll be looking for. Because we have this is the VPVR on the right here. It's the volume range profile, and it just kind of shows you areas where there was more volume, and you have what's called a low volume node, which basically means if we break above this, the coin does have a little bit here it will contend with around the $1.70 range, maybe just under $1.60, but that would be my first target then, would be about $1.60, and the main target, if it could get going for me, would be up around $1.80, $1.80 to $1.85, and I'm basing that mostly off the fact that there's just not a lot of daily resistance in this area. Clearly, if it gets up to that area and it's still pushing higher, you could go up as high as over $2, but you're just going to start dealing with a lot more daily resistance at that point. So that's kind of what I'm watching for on EOS, and that should about wrap it up for this one. Now, if you guys are brand new to trading, I wouldn't recommend obviously taking these trades anyway, but see the link in my description for my playlist on how to trade. I'm adding videos all the time to that, but it does go over the very, very basics as far as how to use TradingView, how to get started on some of these exchanges, and so on. And you need to learn all that stuff before you start diving into these coins. And the main reason I say that is alerts are my #1 friend. On TradingView, I'm always setting alerts at every single level I talk about so that when I get the alert on my phone, I can then begin to execute my plan, or at least go, okay, check mark 1 of the plan, and then I wait for the alert to go off the second time, check mark 2, right? That way I'm always keeping up to speed, even when I'm busy, on what's going on with the coin, rather than something crazy happening and I have no clue, right? So hopefully you found some value in today's video, and as always, if you're enjoying the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. It's TAWITHMMK.